Welcome to Multifamily Deal Lab, where your host, Dave Lindahl, dissects recent multifamily deals done by his guests. Dave will extract what went right, what went wrong, and a number of key takeaways so your next deal may be more profitable.
All right, welcome to Multifamily Deal Lab, everybody. I'm Dave Lindahl, your host, and I am with Seth Sundberg today. And Seth, tell everybody who you are and where you're from.
Yeah, my name is Seth Sundberg. Thanks, Dave. It's great to be here. I'm excited about this. I'm originally from California. About 7 months ago, moved to New Orleans and been loving it ever since.
7 months ago, you moved to New Orleans?
Yep.
Sweet. And you were saying prior to the recording that you moved there for this particular deal. So why don't you tell us what type of a deal you got into?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So this is a 68-unit apartment complex that we found. I found early last year after working with another group in RE Mentor and working on a project up in Mississippi, which was a lot of fun. We went and did an investor tour up there, and then I shot down to see the original deal structure and meet the owners of this deal, and it just kind of went from there. Yeah, 68 units, C-class apartment and a C-plus apartment in a C-class area, but it's really interesting about just the pocket of the area and things that happen there are so interesting that I go, this is a real opportunity to get into kind of a pre-emerging market, the way I see it and the fundamentals that are here. And so I said, the best way to really know it is to move out here. And so I bought a house and moved here, and we closed on this deal at the end of last year, December 30th, 2021. And we're working on a lot more projects out here right now.
No faster way to increase your education than to move into the area and get to know it, live it, absorb it, and move forward.
You know,
I got a quick question. Go ahead.
I was just saying, one of the things that hit me, was something you said a while back. Always look at deals in your backyard. And New Orleans definitely wasn't my backyard. And I would go, well, the way to make it my backyard is to go out there and turn it into it. So I did.
That's pretty good. Yeah, just to put that quote in context. So I always say, take a look at, when you're first starting out, always be looking at your deals in your backyard because they're easier to do your due diligence on and talk with brokers and really get a feel for this business. But at the same time, be looking at emerging markets too, if that's what you want to do. So this deal, I don't know if you said it, but it was $2.8 million that you finally settled on, yes?
Yeah, 2.844.
And I just want to quickly, did you buy a deal in Mississippi?
Yes, yeah. We worked on it with the Outlaws group and was in it with them.
And is that deal done?
Yep.
So one of my mentors early on, when I did one of my first deals in Jackson, Mississippi, and she said, why are you going to Jackson? I said, because they're building a car plant there and I got this deal and they're supposed to have this much appreciation with this other group. And she said, let me tell you about Mississippi. And she used to work for this guy who was another mentor of mine, and he owned properties all throughout the US, the original emerging markets investor. And she said, this is from my experience of doing business with Larry, the other guy, in Mississippi, it's a pain in the ass to get there. And you do make money, but you never make as much as you think you're going to make. So let me ask you a question. Was it a pain in the ass to get to that property? And did you make as much as you thought?
It's the answer to the second question is still going, but the property is great. It's a B property and really a nice area. It's a small town in Vicksburg, Mississippi. The property didn't need much at all and had zero issues during Corona. Really a stabilized asset, really a gem in a small town. The very interesting thing about Vicksburg specifically is that there's three crossroads. There's the highway system, the Mississippi River, and then the railway system. And they all converge right there around Vicksburg. So the Army has a lot of their engineers, Army Corps of Engineers. So Vicksburg, actually being a small town, has the highest number of engineers of anywhere in Mississippi. So it's really a lot of those individuals are tenants on that project. So it was great. Yeah, I didn't find that deal like I said. The Outlaws found it, and it was great. And so I jumped in with them, and it was a lot of fun. And the asset's performing really well, and I think it's going to continue to go.
It wasn't the Battle of Vicksburg the turning point of the Civil War.
There's a lot of history there for sure. I'm not an expert in history, but we did get to cruise around. That's one of the things that Vicksburg is known for sure, and brings a lot of tourism in because a lot of history buffs like to go out there for sure.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at this particular deal, and just so I want to wet the whistle of everybody that's listening in. Let's speed ahead and talk about the returns on this particular deal. You bought it for 2.8. Actually, yeah, you bought it for 2.8. But what did the appraisal say?
Said 3.78 million as is.
So 2.8, 3.7 million as is. The bank released that to you after you closed, so you didn't know that particular figure. And what are you going to be able to do to the property to actually increase it up from there until what point?
Yeah, it's interesting. So this is one of those deals, and it's spoiled me a bit for other projects that I've been looking at here in New Orleans. We bought this thing for about $42,000 a door. The owners were a mom and pop run operations. We're now friends, and they were just they both had full-time jobs, and this was just a lot for them to manage. They didn't bring any professional property management, et cetera. We originally tied the deal up when I found it originally at $3.4 million. Got into the financials. Some of the collections were choppy, et cetera. We said we can't do it at 3.4. We wanted to renegotiate. And they said, well, we got another group that's in this deal that wants to be in the deal, and we're going to offer it to them because they're going to give us the number we want. I said, you got to do what you got to do and let it go.
Oh yeah, I want to make a point here. So you did your analysis. The numbers weren't right when you finally get your due diligence done. So you went back and said, hey, look, this is the real price of this property. They said, no, we're going to go somewhere else. And you walked away.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay. Then what happened?
Yeah. And then I kept in touch with them. Like I said, good folks. And we just continued to talk, and they were telling me
didn't burn any bridges.
No, we were all up and up. It was very adult conversations, and we were dealing directly with the owners. I found this through a wholesaler, and we early on got him out of the mix after he made the introduction. And so we were dealing directly with the sellers, kept the relationship going, and the other group that had it tied up was not able to close. And they came back and said, these guys aren't going to be able to do it. Do you want it? And I said, yeah, I want it at the price that we said. And they said, okay. So we did it.
That's pretty sweet. So they couldn't close because the numbers weren't right.
Yeah.
The bank's not going to do the deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
The numbers aren't right.
And the collections were choppy, and it's just a management issue. It wasn't, a reflection on the demand for the area. And to your original question about increasing the value of the property, we have a plan to do some exterior renovations and improvements, basically cosmetic. And we're going to paint the building, add a sitting area, repave the parking lot, and then our plan is to do some interior renovations as things turn, probably in 6 to 8 months. We'll start, but there was so much meat on the bone as far as being able to increase rents in the area just by putting the right property management in place. And the market rents were much higher than what they were currently getting. We didn't renew a lot of the current tenants' leases. And
how'd that go?
It's still going. It's been 3 months into it. And
did they come to when they learned that there was going to be, how much did you increase the rent by?
We did for the 1 bedrooms, we increased it $100 a door. And for the 2 bedrooms, it was $150.
Did you make any improvements prior to the rental increase? No improvements?
No.
So word must have get out that you're raising the rents. Did they come to the office with pitchforks and lanterns?
No. Everybody's been good. There's been a couple of people that said, hey, this is just not going to work. And I said, okay, that's fine. But a lot of people know that the people that have been there for a long time knew that they were undervalued for a while. And we do have a plan to do improvements. So they know that's coming and they want to be a part of that. And this area of New Orleans is actually considered New Orleans East. And it's been, it was really nice at one point, and then NASA had a bunch of jobs in that area, and then they took that facility away, and the area dropped a bit, and now it's on its resurrection again too. It's very interesting to see that, and this pocket that this building is in is surrounded by residential, and a lot of the residential places have all been renovated, and there's a lot of growth in that area. Some of our new tenants are the contractors that are and their families that are now moving into that area, which is fun to see too.
So after you do the improvements, we'd be able to increase the rents even more?
Yeah, definitely. There's a $2 billion project happening about 6 minutes away from this facility. Actually, I don't know if you saw Zombieland, the movie Zombieland, but at the end of the movie, they do a big zombie killing, mass killing type of thing. And it's filmed actually at an old abandoned amusement park. And that was in New Orleans East. That was the old Six Flags there that since Katrina, it's been shut down. And so that's all they really use it for is filming. But now, as of December of last year, actually, a new group has bought it from the city. They're going to do a $2 billion renovation, do another indoor water parks, a hotel, a full retail setup. They got a sports complex going in, some other things that's really going to be energizing for that area.
Wow, that's awesome. I want to go back to what you said. You found it through a wholesaler. Was that a single family wholesaler? Yeah,
so it was a friend of a friend type of thing, and which is funny how it worked out. And he was primarily focused on single families, but was just getting into the multifamily side and was just hustling and was making calls and connecting with people. And he found that these owners were looking to sell and brought it to me and said, "What about this?" And started looking into it, and that's how we got connected.
Wow, a little more education, he'll be kicking himself.
Yeah,
for giving it up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how you did the raise. How much did you raise?
We raised $1.2 million.
Where'd that come from?
Individuals, and we've created a list of investors that are interested in projects. We've been building that for a couple of years now. Our Vanessa Alfaro and Michelle Jung are in this deal as well, and they have their relationships, so we were able to leverage that, and it went well.
So basically, for the last couple of years, you've been collecting names, putting them on a list, keeping in contact, and then boom, you get a deal, and you let them know you have a deal, and see who raises their hand and says, "I'm in."
Yep.
Awesome. Was there any stress in the raise? Was there a point where you thought, I don't know if I can raise this, or?
Yeah, I think that's always a question. I mean, I don't know if it, if it ever changes. I've had people come and say, "Hey, we need to place capital. We need to do this," and I go, "Okay, I'm looking to find more deals and all that." But a lot of it is just timing. And the other piece that is interesting in all this is you do all your due diligence, right? You get the deal tied up, you do all the due diligence, and then you're getting to putting the property package together with the attorneys, et cetera. And then you do the raise, and it's like, okay, but now the close date is putting pressure on you too. So it's always like a scramble, I think, a bit to see who's interested in the areas, and this was our first deal in Louisiana specifically.
Which, by the way, is very different from the rest of the other 49 states. Could you explain to everybody why?
Yeah, there's multiple reasons, but it is a lot of it has to do with title and the way the title's structured. The tenant laws are very similar to a lot of other states, and it's very landlord friendly as far as a state. But it is, I guess, one of the last states to come into the union. And
it was a French colony, and they still have a lot of the Napoleonic laws in place. I used to own one in Shreveport.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is somewhat friendly, but it still is just very different to do business there. And you need to know. No,
for sure. So we had to make sure our attorneys, knew specifically Louisiana and the laws here and doing cash sales, et cetera. But it's interesting too, because Louisiana as a state is not super interesting to me, from a numbers perspective. But the southern part of Louisiana is very interesting. And they say even here, now that I live here, I've learned a lot of the kind of just nuances and things, but they say that New Orleans is a blue dot in a sea of red, which just shows like how different New Orleans is specifically to the rest of the state, whether it's politically, but also like numbers wise, job growth wise, tech development, wise, tourism wise, all these things. The numbers for New Orleans are amazing. So it's this very unique market inside of a state that's just not doing amazingly well as far as the state by state comparison is.
Yeah. So now are you regularly eating gumbo and beignets?
So it's funny. So I don't eat shellfish and I don't eat pork. And I have people that are here. They're like, "Man, you're not going to be able to live here. Like you're not going to be able to survive. What are you going to eat?" I'll be okay. I definitely have eaten a lot of beignets for sure. They're delicious.
Those are awesome. I wanted to go to the financing. The financing is a little bit different. Explain to everybody how you finance this deal.
Yeah, so we did. We were originally looking at agency debt to do this deal, and we were talking with some folks to go down that route. The plan was a bit different when we started, and that agency route would have been a lower interest rate, et cetera, but we wouldn't have gotten any construction funding from it. So we reanalyzed the deal and realized that Louisiana, like Houston, like a lot of other markets, is considered a market of concern for Fannie and Freddie. So they automatically take off 5% of whatever the LTV is going to be. And that changed a little bit of the structure. And so we said, all right, do we want to do that? Or do we want to actually make continued improvements on this property, et cetera, et cetera? And so we went with a bridge debt deal, which was really great to do. And the interest rate was a little bit higher, but they also gave us $426,000 of construction funds that if we use, we pay on. If we don't.
How did they structure that construction aspect of it? Is so many draws or?
Yeah, no, there's unlimited draws. And again, it's contingent upon
producing invoices.
The money you pay on it. And if you don't need it, then we don't pay anything on it. So we borrowed $2.13 million and then have $426,000 of improvement that we can use if we choose to, which we will use some of that.
So what's the end game with the financing? Are you going to hold it long enough to roll it over into a conventional, or are you going to play this out and sell it within a short period of time and just keep the bridge on there?
Yeah, so some of that is going to be dictated by the market. Like I said, I really see this as a pre-emerging market and something that there's just, as what I can tell so far, there's really just a lot of local competition. It's not even, there's some out-of-state players here, people from New York, New Jersey. I haven't seen a lot of people from California in the bidding processes in some of these properties, but I haven't seen any international money, come in here yet either. But I think that as Corona lifts, as some of these industries that are continuing to grow here, as tech improves here. This is one of the things I'm very bullish on is recreational marijuana from an economic impact standpoint. And Louisiana is on the verge of approving recreational marijuana to happen here. And I think that will go a long ways towards the changing the perspective of New Orleans from, oh, I just know it as Katrina to, oh, now it's a fun place, good fundamentals, great food, great tourism, good place to live. Recreational marijuana is legal. They're able to use some of that tax revenue to increase and improve some of the infrastructure and the roads specifically that are here, that I think is an opportunity for them for sure. And it'll come on a lot of people's radar soon.
So you think the recreational marijuana is going to bring in the tourist dollar? What about how many jobs do you think that's going to?
Yeah, no, it's going to bring a lot of jobs. They're also predicting in year one that it's going to bring in about $200 million of tax revenue alone. And so that, like I said, is one of the things that a lot of locals here are stigmatized by is the political processes here in Louisiana. And there's been some public outcry about it too. But as long as the money that's generated from marijuana gets to the places that it needs to go to, I think it'll help with a lot of things.
I would be the perfect recreational marijuana business owner, because I stopped smoking pot when I was 19, and because it made me too paranoid. So I wouldn't be indulging in my own product.
There you go.
I'll tell you what, I smoked a bunch between 13 and 19, probably enough for a lifetime. 3 or 4 times a day. It was crazy.
It's a huge business now. I was in LA in Los Angeles when it became legalized in California. And I saw some of these dispensaries and they look like Apple $1 million setups and things like that. I go, what am I buying here? Am I buying an iPhone? What's going on? I don't know what I'm actually buying, but it's a big industry and they do it for a reason for sure.
There's definitely some opportunities. I had a guy come in here the other day that they had a big event up in Boston. And he was telling me about the miscellaneous opportunities that there are in that marketplace. And I was like, that's very interesting.
Yep.
But okay, 2 things. Number one, you're going to make a bunch of money with this project. I know you have down in the notes that you're going to buy more apartments with it, but what are you going to do for yourself? What are one of those things that you haven't done that you're going to do now that you have a little extra money?
I think as the travel restrictions lighten up and things like that, my daughter turns 15 next week. And so I want to take her internationally and go see, I played professional basketball for a while. I was with LA and then played 10 years overseas. So I've seen a lot of that stuff, but she hasn't been able to see. We've traveled a bunch, but not.
What's your favorite city over there?
I liked Istanbul a lot. I had a real good time there. It was great people, and just being there was a lot of fun. That's definitely one of the ones. There's some Baltic cities in the summertime that are really amazing. I played in Croatia my first year out. I was in Split, and that was just beautiful.
It was beautiful there,
yeah, for sure. So it was fun.
So you're going to travel. That's awesome. Yeah. All right. And then one last thing is we got to play lightning round. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you're just going to answer the first thing that comes to the top of your mind.
Okay.
All right. And so the first one is, how do you feel about the name Seth?
I like it. It's the third son of Adam and Eve, and replaced when Cain killed Abel, took the replacement. I didn't like it when I was growing up, but I like it now.
Awesome. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Ooh, people saying that I can't survive in New Orleans without eating.
There you go. Do you eat to live or live to eat?
No, I eat to live. I'm very conscious of what I do with my body.
As an athlete, absolutely. What's the best compliment you can give yourself?
I think daily, if I do my best, whatever that looks like, I'm pretty proud of myself. And I know when I gave 100% and when I didn't. So
I've got a note on my wall in my gym down in my basement that says you just have to be better than yourself, that you just have to be better than you were yesterday. If you can hang out with one historical figure for a day in your time or theirs, who would it be?
Ooh, I think Thomas Jefferson.
Why?
I think he's just fascinating. He created a lot of thoughts around the way education systems should work, and structurally, I think I just love to pick his brain for 1,000 hours for sure.
All right. So these questions were handed to me. I didn't make them up, but I just read the next one. So I got to read it to you. Right. If your worst enemy wrote your dating profile, what would they say?
This dude is too tall to hang out.
All right. What's your favorite movie and why?
The Lion King, by far. I think the message in it is great. It's very family oriented and is real life stuff that we go through things that we need to overcome. And how do we do that?
Yeah, I love that movie. I watched it. So I've got twins at 5 and a 3-year-old. And so we watched The Lion King for the first time a couple weekends ago. And they did not like it when the father lion died. I forget what his name was.
Yeah, Mufasa.
Yeah, they didn't like it when he died, and they didn't want to watch it anymore.
Yeah,
and then my youngest, my son, turned to me and said, "Dad, do something, do something." I had to explain to him it's just part of life. All right, what's your favorite? What's your least favorite holiday, and why?
It's an interesting blend. Probably St. Patrick's Day, and it's actually a good day, but a bad day. My dad was born on Christmas and died on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh,
and
wow.
So every St. Patrick's Day, I get to remember his honor his name, and also I'm sad and that he's not here anymore.
My father was born on Valentine's Day. All right. What books do you buy? What book do you always buy for others?
A book by Napoleon Hill, and it's not Think and Grow Rich. It's one lesser known that he has, but it's super great
Laws
book.
of Power?
And impactful. It's called Outwitting the Devil.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Great book.
Do you ever see, you can go on YouTube and you can get the old Napoleon Hill doing his broadcasts.
Interesting. I haven't done that, but I will. Yeah.
Maybe it's Amazon. Yeah, it's Amazon. I think they cost like $12 for each one. But all right, good. This is how Seth did his deal in New Orleans. And come back again next time, and we will dissect the next deal on Multifamily Deal Lab.
This has been another edition of Multifamily Deal Lab. If watching on YouTube, please be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, so you don't miss the next session, and review the contact links on this page.